Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. Today's episode, we are going to tackle the ongoing saga involving comedians Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears. And we all know the trouble in which they have got themselves involved in. According to them, it was a PSA announcement, if you buy that. But what I'm going to show is that there's something deeper, more sinister, that goes way back. And I mean way, way back in Hollywood. That it is deeply entrenched and that it has befallen many victims. And unfortunately, these types of things, this type of abuse, I should say, molestation, children being taken advantage of, can happen right before our eyes. And oftentimes, they're under the guise of somehow it's some type of PSA announcement, or it's some type of comedy skit, or it's some type of, let's say, public service event that we need to get out there to warn people, to warn their children. What a clever way of molesting children under the guise of somehow you're trying to give information about how they cannot become victims. But before I go any farther with this right here, I had mentioned to you that this goes way back. And I do mean way back in Hollywood. We can go back to the 1930s. We can go to Shirley Temple, who appeared to be all innocent. Well, she was. But the people in control of her career and her movies were not innocent at all. In fact, I'm going to show you that many a times her movies were a guise, that it was basically a clandestine, stealth, surreptitious way of putting children into very sexualized positions and skits without the general public even being aware of it. And many a times, maybe the child's parents were not even aware of it. But this goes to show you that this goes way back. And before I go any farther, I want you to have this troubling look at some of her movies in which they had a child star involved in.
As the leading lady, Shirley Temple frequently played a prostitute or nightclub performer. In Glad Rags to Riches, she was La Belle Diaperina, a dancer at the Lullaby Lobster Palace. Her beau, Elmer, fails to impress when he chomps down hard on an enormous pickle. In War Babies, Pipsqueak Shirley played the diaper-clad harlot Gloria. The toddler soldiers, hanging around Pete's Buttermilk Cafe, compete for her attention by presenting her with enormous lollipops. Titillating side entertainment is provided by the tap-dancing African-American boy who performs a slow striptease down to his underwear. Down on all fours, another toddler sits open-mouthed beneath an overturned baby bottle. A large sign in the background states, "Sour milk." When things go awry, Gloria comes to the rescue by pulling a rubber glove from her purse and attaching it to a keg of sweet milk. As the youngster suckles away, a man can be heard moaning rather than mooing on the accompanying soundtrack. Pavel mentioned. Why, we may ask, is Shirley's dress shorter at the back than the front as she pirouettes on top of the grand piano? And what exactly was the purpose of the scene where Shirley creeps into Morgan's bedroom, then jiggles up and down on his stomach. At least Denmark had the sense to ban Curly Top for unspecified corruption upon its release. Curly Top makes use of the telltale spider code. This theme emerges after Morgan buys a hula dress and ukulele for his tiny ward, and we see Shirley dancing in a grass skirt. A short while later, Shirley is lying on the beach reading a comic strip. The camera zooms in on the cartoon, where a man yells, "There's a big spider in your skirt," to a woman in a hula dress. A voyeuristic close-up of Shirley's buttocks ensues as she rocks back and forth on a seahorse in a swimsuit that is conveniently too small for her. In January, Green queried the director's motivations, asserting the camera was being used in a salacious manner to provoke disreputable enjoyment. In his 1937 review of Wee Willie Winkie, published by Night and Day magazine, Green again went on the attack, insisting, "Infancy with her is a disguise. Her appeal is more secret and more adult. Her neat and well-developed rump twisted in the tap dance."
Okay, wasn't that disturbing? Did you see the things with the milk, the innuendos there? And did you see the things with the kid, the black kid, stripping down to his underwear and dancing? Isn't that what Aries Spears had the little boy do in their skit? He was stripped down to his underwear. And people, be aware of this. Not everyone likes hardcore pornography. Many times when people are dealing with children, they like the idea of them being halfway, unclothed, in underwear, in very sexualized positions. They like the innuendos of sexuality. They like the idea of it being hinted at. And in many of Shirley Temple's films, they took the most salacious parts, like her in the too small bikini, the little black kid stripping down, the milk scenes, sour milk. We know what that's a reference to. And they would loop them all together many times. And grown men in this pedophile ring in Hollywood would get off on things like that. Now you guys may ask, well, what did her parents know? What about her parents? You know what? That's a hard question to answer. I think many times people were just, it would depend on their background, how wealthy they were. Meaning that if they come from a poor background or if they were struggling, maybe they were just very happy to get the money. Maybe they were very happy with the lifestyle in which the movies provided them in. And maybe those scenes could have gone completely over their heads. And by the way, those scenes that you seen with Shirley Temple, her movies, guess what? They were shown between PSAs, public service announcements. Back in the 1930s, movies for children were free at certain times. So they can go in there, public service announcements would be shown, and Shirley Temple movies will be shown. Only for children. But see, this whole pedophile ring knew that children wouldn't catch it. And they knew that very few adults would catch it. So basically this whole clandestine, covert operations, it was right in front of people's eyes. But you can't blame children because, of course, they're not going to know what exactly they are looking at. Remember the little boy in the Shirley Temple film in his underwear? What do you have here with Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears skit? So here's the question that I'm going to beg to ask. Tiffany and Aries, who sent you? Someone had to give you the money to do this. Someone had to write the script. Someone had to film this. You said that this was a public service announcement. By whom? Who gave you the go-ahead to do this? People, a lot of times, things are a lot more deeper than what you may think. For certain people to get to certain levels, they have to do very unsavory things. I'm just going to question as to, this is not the first time I heard they did this type of a skit or skits that are involving children. And I think that all parties, Aries, Tiffany, whoever filmed it, all of them should be punished. And Aries want to say it's a shakedown for money. He's innocent. What I've seen, and I've seen the whole thing, by the way, and I'm sure that many of you have seen it also, this is not a shakedown. That was completely an abuse of a child. What Aries got into the tub with a child with just his underwear on, putting a child in a sexual situation like that, that was nothing but a form of molestation. That they're claiming that somehow, oh, we're innocent, the parents want to shake us down. No, you could have said no, couldn't you? You chose to participate in this. You chose to aid and abet. And people, let me tell you what I believe this was for. It would not surprise me at all that this whole sketch, this whole skit, this whole video, that there's some type of pedophile who's in the background, who get actors who want to go up higher. Aries' career is dying, right? He didn't have much of a career. But they tell them, if you want to go up higher, we need for you to do us a little favor. Recruit children. And who did they get? Aries and Tiffany. So basically, they're in the background, and they have to take the fall for this. But this whole thing in Hollywood, as you can clearly see with Shirley Temple movies, it is something that is deeply ingrained, that has been going on for the longest. And its wickedness needs to be exposed for what it is. So parents, if you have aspirations for your child to be an actor, to get into the entertainment industry, this is something that you need to be aware of. And in many cases, Shirley Temple spoke on this when she got older. She was, her parents allowed her to go into a room when she wasn't even like 15. One incident happened when a man exposed himself to her and she was 12 years old. Never allow your child out of your sight. Never allow them to go into a room with these big wigs, executives, producers, directors. I don't give a shit if they're offering them a episodic television, that's running each week. Do not do it. Your child is much more important than a TV show, than a comedy skit, than breaking into the movies. Protect them at all cost. And you know what? I spoke on how many times when people need to go to a next level, how they got to participate in certain things which they may not want to do. But to get to that level, fame, fortune, money, glory, they'll do it. Take a look at this right here.
Invented a child molesting robot. I'm sorry, I'll speak up. It's a robot that is designed to molest children, and it can theoretically molest twice as many children as a human molester, and quite frankly, half the time. You heard what he said?
Many of your favorite actors have participated in many of things behind closed doors that you are just unaware of, that you're not privy to. Deals have been brokered. Contracts have been made, verbal, and people have agreed to do it. They say that fame is a hell of a drug. And for many of people who want it so badly, they would do it. Many times when there's no blood shown, if there's no death involved, people would do things to get to that so-called mythological next level. So, as I have shown you, this has been around. And hopefully, with this incident with Aries and Tiffany, it can help put an end to it. It can expose these evildoers who abuse children. And people, watch these celebrities. Celebrities, to me, are not really worth idolizing. They're not thing that I would put on a pedestal. You need to be very careful, with this celebrity culture that we live in, and thinking that somehow they have some type of, I don't know, if they shit gold or something like that. You need to be extremely careful with this stuff. Because if it's not one thing, pedophilia, it's witchcraft, it's Satanism. The case of Will Smith, in which I've done movies on him, Freemasonry, being involved in that, allowing to go to the next level if he somehow completes a job, which he did at the Academy Awards. It's there. We just have to look for it. And we just have to see beyond and through. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all beyond and through.